Hey, what's up, guys? So I'm standing here next to this beauty, and I'm just thinking about what it is that I should do here today. This thing is just sitting here apart, so I think what I'm going to do is get in here with a wire brush and clean up some of this rust and put the pieces back on that I took off, and get this motor buttoned up, oil it up, button it up, and move it out of the way. I'll probably move it right here to the back of the truck, and that way I can get around it. We'll get this thing together, we'll get it moved, and we'll see how it goes. All right, let's get after it. Some of the stuff on here, the biggest problem with this motor is it was outside, and it was covered up, but you know, you can't keep moisture off of it. And this was the valve cover that had the oil fill or the vent, and you know, that allowed moisture in, and well, one thing led to another, and now we got a bunch of rust inside. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to give it a once over and get as much of the rust out from under it as I can. I don't want to spend a ton of time on it if this is no good, but I want to spend enough time so if this motor ends up being good, I don't have to redo this. You know, because well, because I just don't want to. It sucks. There's pretty heavy rust in there. Now, you know, a lot of guys, they tell you, hey, don't worry about that rust. And they're true. They're right to an extent. You know, these big diesel engines, if you don't run them hard and get them thoroughly warmed up, they'll make moisture just in a short amount of time, and they'll be rusty under here anyways. But what I want to do is I want to get any large scale rust scraped out, blown out, cleaned out, and get it out of the possibility of getting in the oil system and running through the bearings and ruining stuff. You know, it's a little preventative maintenance. It's okay to do a little preventative maintenance, you know, on your big truck engine. Nothing wrong with it at all. So we're using carb cleaner because I'm out of brake cleaner. And carb cleaner is gonna do a good job getting the grease and grime off. So we're gonna have to make sure that when it's all said and done, we get some oil on that stuff. So this one valve spring and everything about it is in really bad shape over here. So this motor is going to need a valve spring before we get going too crazy. Because, you know, stress riser, it's going to cause the thing to break, and we don't need that. So what we'll do is we'll get this thing cleaned up best we can, and we'll get it lubed up best we can, and then we'll test fire this thing because we don't know anything about it. You know, this motor was involved in an accident, and you know, hearsay says it was ejected. I don't know if it was. I wasn't there. You know, the guy who told me about it may have been told by somebody else, and yet, you know how that goes. So we don't really know what the extent of the damage was, other than the bell housing was completely broken. We don't know if the truck got hit by a train while it was sitting there parked, or if, you know, he was going down the road, you know, 2,400 RPMs, and blam, gets T-boned by a, you know, a cement truck, and the engine was turning, you know, wide open when it broke off. We don't know any of that stuff, so we're not really sure what kind of condition this is in. And I bought it knowing that, and you know, so it's not going to be any surprise if the thing's no good. Actually, it'll surprise me if the thing is good. So, all right, I think that's pretty good. I'm going to block off these holes, and I'm going to get the air nozzle over here, and I'm going to get after it, and I'm going to blow that smoke out of there, the schmutz, if you will, the schmoo, if you're talking to Wayno. You know, I like to use breakaway as a lubricant and a cleaner, and go through it like crazy. Maybe someday they'll be sponsoring me, and then it won't come out of my pocket. But in the meantime, let me find an air nozzle, huh? We're going to get it back together. We're going to reuse these old gaskets, and we're going to put it together, get a new oil pan, new oil pickup, you know, new meaning new to this motor, and we're going to fire it up and see if it runs. Oops. Okay, rocker box. You know, this rocker box is in pretty good shape, actually. Just a tad bit of cleanup. Some of the larger scaly rust. Oh, that's nice. So you see this one doesn't even move. So we're gonna get the smackulator out, smack it around a little bit. And what'll happen is this motor will end up, you know, getting a rebuild on this rocker box. Not a big deal. Take the shaft out, new bushings, and or bearings, if you want to call it that, and get her back together. Not a huge deal. Not a huge deal at all. No O-ring on this oil tube, so we'll make sure we get one of those in there right quick. Don't drop that on the ground, because, you know, that won't be good. lube. Never hurt nobody. Let's get some. These are definitely the wrong power glasses. Supposed to be coming over today. Let me see what he's looking at exactly. Yeah, got a guy supposed to be coming over today to clean the shop. I just don't have time to do it. I did a lot yesterday actually, and I do that all the time. Like when I hire somebody to come clean, I'm embarrassed by the mess that I already have. So I pre-clean. And I did that yesterday. You know, I put some stuff in stock, and man, those are nice now. Look at that. Yeah. Let's see. Yep. Let me look in these holes. Okay, there's no O-ring in either one of those. So we're gonna have to find an O-ring that fits. So I'm gonna take this one off, and I'm gonna go and find one, and I'll be right back. All right, so I got the rocker box cleaned up. Found the O-ring, replaced the O-ring. Tubes are in. This tube is not in. So I need to make that a thing. Let's see. Nope, it's not in. Now it is. Like we're set down. I think these are 70 foot-pounds. We'll look on the old interweb real quick. These will be torqued to 70 foot-pounds. And then I'm going to try and time it real quick. I messed the timing up when I took it apart because I wasn't planning on putting it back together. I was planning on taking the heads off, putting it on the other motor. So we'll get this torqued down. We'll look online and see what see how to time this thing, and or I should say not time, run the valves. I don't know why my brain was saying time, but we're gonna run the overhead just on these cylinders. These should be fine. These I changed when I took it off. I took the spring pressure off before I untorqued the rocker box because I don't want to load it on one side and crack it. These are some pretty badass springs. So let's give that a look and see what it's going to take to make it happen. All right, we'll be right back. Thing you don't want to do is you want to get these things tightened down crooked. So they're aluminum, and you will snap them. And you want to torque them down from the inside out. Looks like tall short. Looks like maybe this one's a tall and this one's a short. These two are right. These two must be talls because they're under the valve cover. And then this is short and this is a tall. So that's the way it's going to be. I don't know how I did it, but it looks like I got them right. So, and again, I think these are 70 foot-pounds. The biggest problem I have with being able to torque these is I don't have a socket deep enough, and I don't think I can torque it with a crow's foot, but we'll see. I'm going to try it. For right now, I'm just wrench tightening. Torque wrench in, so that's 55 foot-pounds. That's 70. That's 70. That's 70. That's 70. That's 70. That's 70. You guys believe me, don't you? Alright guys, so before I give up on working on this for the day, I'm going to try and extract this bolt. And in order to do that, so you gotta center punch it, and you know it helps if you put it right in the center, which I did not, but that's okay. It's okay. It's alright that it's not quite in the center, but we're gonna drill that out. Then we're gonna use this extractor and see about getting that out. So let's give it a little bit of a drill here. Probably can't see exactly what I'm doing with my big head in the way, but the general idea is to get a hole right down this bolt. And I can already tell you that this bolt is going to come out, because it's already moved. When the drill caught, it actually spun it in a little bit. So then you take one of these tools and you find one that's the right size, and of course I should have looked at that to begin with. but that one will work. And these things are hardened, and they've got a backwards twist, and it's a taper as well. So as you tighten it, there you go. As you tighten it, it grips the broken bolt, and out it comes. And man, I don't know how I ever lived without them, but that's amazing. And you just grab this with a pair of pliers and spin this the other way, and it's off. Pretty cool, huh? So that gives me opportunity to put this plate back on. So let me grab some bolts and then we'll do it. All right, so these are not the right bolts. Well, I'm not going to say they're not the right bolts. They're not the bolts that came off of this, but they'll work. And so we're gonna stick this on. And some of them are actually off of the old plate, and maybe these are off this new one. That's crazy. I can see that something weird is going on with that one over there. Maybe yeah, nice. And so in case you don't recognize it, this is the fill and dipstick. And the other one that was on this motor is busted off. So we're just gonna stick this on here, and you guys, I'm gonna hear it. Ooh, got a whole cabinet full of tools, and you're using a crescent wrench. I'm not gonna get up and walk across the shop to get a set of sockets that I'm gonna be using on something else in 5 seconds and run these bolts in. You know, they're not getting torqued, they're just, we're bolting this plate on, we're gonna bolt it up and forget it. And I'm just not all that super concerned with, you know, proper tool for the job at this particular time. All right, there we go. Now, let's get you moved up here to the top, and we'll try and extract these. Now, these are going to be a little different because these are in aluminum, and the reason why they broke in the first place is because the mixed metals. So I don't know how it's going to work out. I need to get a different extractor and a different drill bit. So I'll be back in 20 seconds. All right, so let's do this one first. This back one looks like it was in distress for a lot of years. Let me grab a pick. All right, so this one might just be a mud dauber. I'd rather not have to mess with that one for sure. That stinks. Like a dead animal and shit. That's gross. All right, let's do this one. Get lined up in the center best we can. Come on, man. Oh man, that's crazy. I swear to God, both of those look like broke off bolts. And all it was a mud dauber nest in each one. You know, the mud daubers, they'll go anywhere. They will go anywhere and build a nest. Okay, bolt extraction complete. Wow, that really stinks. I mean, yuck. All right, so yeah. So what goes next is we do we set the valves, and then put the jake head on, and then after that, valve cover and send it. So, hey, what's up, guys? Man, boiling hot out, and it hasn't even begun. So I'm standing here in front of this beautiful piece of machinery, and I don't know if you guys remember this or not. Maybe I didn't even publish the video from when I got it, but this engine, this is a Big Cam 4 NTC-365 STC engine, which is step timing control, I believe is what that abbreviation means. And basically, Cummins motors, when you start them cold, because the timing is so far in the retard that they smoke like a freight train until they get warm. And so after decades of people complaining, oh, Cummins smokes, Cummins decided they were going to do something about that. So they created the step timing control, which advances the timing slightly via oil pressure on the injectors. So this engine here, I bought this engine as a parts motor, and I originally bought it to replace the head on Candy, if you remember the candy cane saga. And well, it ended up these heads were slightly different, and so I stopped working on this and started working on getting the right head for Candy, which I did, and bing bang boom, Bob's your uncle. Candy runs great. So this engine's just been sitting here, and you know, this engine's supposed to be low time. If you look at it, it does look like it's got some hours on it, and it had the typical leaks. And this engine was involved in an accident, and this engine was ejected from the truck and picked up out of the ditch and sold to me after they pressure washed it and then represented it as having very low mileage, which we know is probably not a thing. But there's a couple of pieces of this engine that are damaged. Some plumbing, some sensors, fan, water pump, looks like the accessory drive, pulley system, the injection pump, and so on and so forth. So I've slowly been gathering up pieces, and I think I'm ready to get this injection pump off and swap it out with another injection pump. I did have to change the oil pan, and I didn't have a gasket, but now I have an oil pan gasket, so I'll get the forklift over here somehow and pick this thing up, drop the pan, put the gasket in, put the pan back in, see if I can get this oil inlet O-ringed up and functioning. Fill this thing up with some used engine oil, throw a starter on it, get her zinged up, see if we get oil pressure. We do have to run the valves on this cylinder, or these two cylinders, and let's get you a little closer look because I'm talking to you from pretty far away. All right, so there are some pieces that are messed up. We've got to replace this hose, this manifold that goes to the air compressor. The pump is broke off, so we're going to take the pump off. I've got another one. We'll see if I can match all this stuff up. We'll need a fuel filter. There's a little bit of hosing and stuff that goes along with the whole step timing control. We'll have to get a look at that. You know, various and assorted things. Let's look at the front of the engine. You know, the fan, the accessory drive pulley took a little damage, but I think it'll be fine. It's just this front one, which is probably for the AC. So we'll just take that pulley off, I think, for now, or we'll just leave it on there. Needs a water pump, which this is a low flow cooling system, so we'll need a low flow water pump. There, about 250 bucks. So if this engine runs good, we'll buy one. If not, we won't. I've got a turbocharger for it, and looks like it'll need the water neck and so a sensor port and a couple other things, but for the most part I think it's complete. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, James, what in the hell are you doing with that whooped out Cummins motor? You don't even like Cummins motors, and you're right, I don't like Cummins motors, but I have this one. Nobody else wants this one, and so if this engine runs, I'm gonna put it in truck X. And you know, this engine could go 400 horsepower, 425, pretty simple, pretty easy. It's pretty much complete. If it runs good and doesn't smoke, carries good oil pressure, we're gonna put it in there because, well, you know, this is $5,000 to $7,000 depending on its condition, and nobody wants it, and I've got it, so in it goes. That way it gives me opportunity to take that locked up Caterpillar out and get it over here on the floor. I've got some Caterpillar engines outside. I've got some Cummins engines inside here. We're going to get those Cummins engines tucked underneath this pallet racking over here. We're going to do that today, actually. I'm going to make a path. I'm going to move these shelves over there, and I'm going to put these engines, that cat, those Cummins motors, bing bang boom, underneath there. I'm going to line these transmissions up in front so it gives us this space here again. This area is going to get cleaned up, and this is where I'm going to build. I think I'm going to build a 3406B as a backup engine / replacement for Trisha's motor. And then I got to do an in-frame on the Marmon. And the Marmon, I think, is the perfect height to come in the shop. So we'll get Hell's Bell moved out of here. I'm going to plumb up the fuel system on that this weekend. So there'll be some boring video content for everybody to watch, but we'll get that fuel system wrapped up, and then that car can go outside, and then we'll get Betty pulled up in here. We'll get the hood off, get it to the fiberglass guy. We'll probably back that truck in, and we'll get the hood off. We'll get it to the fiberglass guy and get it started on the rebuild, and we'll get that motor apart and see about doing an in-frame. Anyhow, that's it for right now.